Shalom, family. Great to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Now, this next story, it's not that it's irrelevant, but it's funny. And sometimes we need to laugh. So, Kristi Noem, who's no longer the director of Homeland Security, is married. And you know, she was very open about having an affair on her staff. Well, it all came out, and you're not going to believe how it came out, too. It's actually funny. So she was the director of Homeland Security, and and she's for the most part responsible for a lot of what ICE does out here in the streets. Well, her husband behind the scenes, which she claims she did not know about this, he is a cross dresser and he likes to wear these latex women boobs, okay? And he poses in all kinds of pictures with this. She claims she did not know about this. Now, you are the director of Homeland Security, and somebody right under your nose is doing something and you had no idea. You really didn't deserve that job, lady. So, anyway, guess how he got busted, y'all? An illegal ratted him out. He was sending pictures of himself to a bunch of illegals. And I guess he thought because they were illegal, even if they said something, nobody would believe it. Well, they did believe it. They were able to produce the pictures of him and everything. So that's how it all came out. And they said they ratted him out because they couldn't stand Kristi Noem, his wife. And we know for obvious reasons, ICE and deporting them. So that's how he got busted. Yep, an illegal ratted his ass out. So anyway, you're going to get a good glimpse of him and people talking about him because, there's a lot of pictures of him that has come out, videos too, with him with these old blown up looking boobs. Some people are naming him big. His name is Byron. So a lot of people are calling him Big Boob Byron. And you'll see why when we get to the pictures. This one is weird. I don't see how she married this weirdo man. He is weird. Weird. And I was like, girl, you had to be out of your mind. So, anyway, let me share my screen. And I think the problem is he says she did not give him a lot of attention in their marriage. I guess the attention he wanted, she was more engulfed with having power, like people like her naturally want. They always want power. Power only means you want to oppress other people. See, when you hear power from them, that's what it means. Okay, it's not empowering yourself and doing good with that power. No, when people like her get power, that means she gets to oppress people. That's what it's all about. She gets to round up a bunch of brown people and treat them like crap. That's what power means to them. All right, thank you for the ones. Let me go ahead and share my screen and let me mute myself.
The story is that Byron Noem was outed for his busty bimbo sex fetish by an undocumented immigrant. He was paying up to $25,000 for cyber sex services. Your wife was the head of the agency that was rounding up people, whether they were citizens or not, based on what they look like to protect the country. You're out here paying $25,000 to an undocumented immigrant, and then she turned you in.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
2026 has been a doozy of a year. I don't really know what to expect day to day, week to week, month to month, but I did not expect to wake up today and get a news ticker headline about Kristi Noem's husband being a part of a bimbofication sex group online.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Where he chats to women with huge breasts and huge bums and tells them that he wishes he could have their bodies. Subsequently, he then wears huge breasts and a huge bati, a huge nyash, a huge backside. He puts it on, then he puts on women's clothing and then sends the pictures to the women.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why many people are saying they believe this is the real reason why Kristi Noem lost her Homeland Security position in, the Trump administration. They believe this was the real reason, because her husband was doing all this freaky stuff online, and he thought the group he was in was with a bunch of immigrants, that he was safe. Well, he wasn't safe. And look at what happened to him. Yeah, dude ain't all there. I've even listened to him speak. He is seriously out in left field. No what? That's why this woman is running around having affairs. Her husband is loony, for real. And I think they saw this stuff out there and they just wanted to get rid of her. So let's go on.
According to the Daily Mail, 3 or 4 women have sent in conversations and pictures of him partaking in this group. Now, by no means am I a person who's judging you for having your sexual kinks. By no means. I just think that it's particularly amazing time-wise that in the same week that Kristi Noem's ex-employees were cheering when her portraits were taken down from the apartment of DHS, that her husband is out here getting caught wearing fake boobs, fake ass, and wearing her aloe yoga sets. It's not funny, but it is. I hope that she is not so sad. She said she's so embarrassed. You weren't embarrassed when you were killing people and arresting and detaining babies and shipping them off to God knows where. So we don't give a fuck about how devastated you are. In fact, we need more news to come out about you. We need more news. I need your doctor to run out of filler. I hope your doctor runs out of the annual checkup you have. But yeah, guys, that's what's going on in today's world. He's probably playing YMCA and hanging out with Trump and playing golf on the weekends. Him and Lindsey Graham and Marco and Pete Hegseth with Bud Light breath. Who knows? I gotta go.
Bryon Noem and Titgate is back. Yes, Kristi and her husband have new scandals busting out, and I'm making too many bad jokes to start this video, on the scene, and it is just another problem for Donald Trump. Because the last time we heard from Bryon Noem, what did he have to say? That he was willing to leak it all, to share it all, to say it all. And we are going to certainly get into that. But I think the parts of this story he didn't want to come out actually now have. And it concerns what might be some new news to Kristi Noem regarding her marital status. We are going to get into all of that. I'm really just going to enjoy, after a very long week of horribleness from Donald Trump, some horribleness from the horrible people around him. But I want to start first with that threat that I mentioned that Bryon Noem made about telling all, potentially implicating Donald Trump, before we get to the marital news for Noem and her husband. Noem's kinky bimbofication husband threatens to tell all. Kristi Noem's husband has said he intends to share his side of the story after photos leaked of his secret cross-dressing life. When approached for comment about the photos, which showed him wearing huge fake breasts while speaking to bimbofication fetish models online, Bryon Noem told the New York Times, "I will at some point. Today is not the day. I appreciate your heart," in reference to telling his side of the story. His relationship with his wife, Donald Trump's former Homeland Security Secretary, was the subject of rampant speculation even before the Daily Mail published a bombshell report on Tuesday revealing his fetish for dressing up comically oversized breasts and tight tops while speaking to women posing as real-life Barbie dolls. Of course, this was a few weeks ago, but that is when the story is dated from. after the shocking photos surfaced of Bryon Noem, admitting to taking part in the bimbofication scene by posing as women with large breasts, as well as having explicit conversations with other women. Noem, dubbed Ice Barbie for her love of playing dress up, I guess they have this in common, said that the family was blindsided by this and they were asking for privacy and prayers at the time. So Big Busty Bryon is saying that he is going to tell all, and Kristi Noem is saying, please look in any other direction away from my husband's large amplifications, to use a word. God, this story is still so funny. But what was it that he was threatening to tell all on specifically? Because if he wants to share more information about his marriage, which we're actually going to get into the state of it a little bit later, maybe that involves Corey Lewandowski and the crimes that would implicate Trump, the rest of this administration, and certainly Noem that he committed. And we actually got more information about those crimes in the wake of the firing of Noem, the wake of Titgate, that I want to start with before we get to the divorce-related news.
There's a new Inspector General investigation into alleged corruption at the Department of Homeland Security. The soliciting and handling of contracts, quote, including the involvement of former Secretary Kristi Noem and her de facto Chief of Staff, Corey Lewandowski. There was already an internal audit that had been sparked in the department for some reason. But now on top of that, there's a new and apparently quite urgent, quite aggressive investigation, which apparently included investigators searching the offices of one Homeland Security official last week, an official who had been reportedly placed in her DHS job by Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem. After NBC News recently reported that Corey Lewandowski reportedly sought multi-million-dollar payments from companies that were contracting with Homeland Security, including specifically companies that operate immigration prisons. He was seeking multi-million-dollar payments for himself from those companies as he was acting as the de facto chief of staff at that agency, including an unusual degree of oversight of contracts. I mean, Mr. Lewandowski denies this, but Democratic members of Congress have now opened their own investigation into what may have been going on there.
So if Bryon is going to tell all, it is certainly about the reason why he turned away from just enjoying the company of Kristi Noem, his husband, his wife. I don't know. I can't even keep my head straight with who's who in this relationship. I don't know what Kristi's doing behind the scenes, but it would certainly mention the obvious affair that she was having with Corey Lewandowski, would it not? And wouldn't that tell all also include some of the information about the corruption they committed in this administration? I think so. Maybe Bryon is going to get his wife indicted. That'd be pretty funny. But what is equally funny, and again, I want to relish in the pain of these people because they're awful, is what's coming out now. Kristi Noem's husband allegedly discussed leaving his wife and transitioning to a woman in stunning new texts. In a Friday report, Daily Mail published text and phone calls revealing more about Bryon's relationship with Shai Sotomayor, one of the models who received thousands of dollars from him. The Daily Mail confirmed that one of the phone numbers involved in the exchanges belonged to Bryon. The report continued. We have confirmed, this is the Daily Mail, the telephone number used was Bryon's, who also paid for their conversations using emails under the pseudonym Crystal Balls 666 and admitted he would like to be referred to by the name Crystal. In the recordings, Bryon is heard professing his subservience to Sotomayor, who wasn't shy in dissing his wife, then head of DHS, and in particular criticizing her handling of aggressive ICE operations in Minneapolis. In fact, Bryon was apparently so unfazed by Sotomayor ridiculing Kristi that he told the dominatrix she was so much better than his wife and that he didn't think his family stands a chance. His family doesn't stand a chance compared to her. In one of the screenshots included in the report, the person presumed to be Bryon told Sotomayor, "I can see us leaving our spouses for each other." In another screenshot, he allegedly told her, "I will be your trans bimbo bitch." In response, Sotomayor encouraged the idea and suggested huge fake tits and ass shots. Bryon later said, "I want to be Crystal so bad," referring to his chosen name if he transitioned. So it looks like Titgate isn't done, and there could be some problems with the nuptials between Kristi and Bryon. I have heard still, because this story is pretty funny, Just so much commentary on, conservatives just need to come out and, live their true lives. And if they did, someone like Bryon Noem wouldn't be as horrible. And sure, there's a lot of people like that in the conservative movement. I think part of it is also they get off on knowing that they're kind of running counter to their movement, to what they actually claim. I don't think that there's some, bright, pure soul inside of Bryon Noem. I think that he just enjoys doing what he thinks is like bad, or I don't want to say the word naughty because then that gets this video demonetized. We're not going to talk about that, but I think that's what these people get off on. I think they get off on doing what they think is wrong. Not to say, of course, that what Bryon Noem was doing, if he hadn't been married, it would have been fine. It's fine as we're doing. You enjoy your time.
No, it just goes to show you that many of these people in the Trump administration are cursed. Look at all the stuff that's happened to Kristi Noem since she entered the Trump administration. Okay. First, somebody stole her purse when she was out dining. Now, you are working for the Department of Homeland Security. You mean to tell me you didn't have anybody with you? Aren't y'all supposed to be going around with bodyguards? How the hell did somebody take your purse from a restaurant? But that happened to her. And she lost all of her clearance IDs and everything. All right. That happened to her. Then it came out that she was having an affair with one of her staffers. And then she went to all those hearings and did horrible in answering questions. And then when she spoke on Brian Petty and Renee Good, she tried to paint them as terrorists and people dragged her over that. Then her ass got paranoid and moved to the military to live on a military base because she was too scared to live out here with the rest of us. Then she lost her job. Then it came out that she was taking money. She gave, I think, $100 million to somebody she knew that just started a business in 3 days. The person's business became active 3 days, right? After they started, she got them $100 million in a government contract. And they were only in business for 3 days. Okay. Then she did those $200 million commercials. She lost her job. And Donald Trump gave her some old made up title. And now all this stuff about her husband being a cross-dresser and wishing he was a woman, all this is now coming out. This woman is the embodiment of a curse. She is cursed. She is definitely cursed. Let's go on.
Yeah, I guess you could say cheating on his wife. I guess he technically was via the internet cheating on his wife, wanting to divorce her. I don't know who would want to divorce Kristi Noem, though. I don't think anything he did was certainly worse than what Kristi Noem was doing herself. But it's not that he just wanted to live this perfectly fine, sexually expressive, do as you please. Like, you want to blow up some balloons and pack them in your shirt? That hurts no one. In fact, that's great for you. Live your truth, baby. But I think he gets off on the idea thinking that it is, and I'm sorry, I said gets off, and that, this video is taking a turn. But he enjoys, because these people are bad. That's the conclusion I'm trying to get to here, is that these people are bad. It is not that if we give them, more room to run, then all of a sudden they'll realize the error of their ways. I think they enjoy it. I think they enjoy the repressive nature of it, because that's how they like to behave to other people. They like to be repressive of them. They like to be hurtful of them. They want to make sure they can't leave their lives in happiness and security and freedom and the privacy that Kristi Noem now demands everyone give her, right? When she was attacking and doxing 2 Americans who were killed by her thugs and calling them domestic terrorists, there was no moment of privacy for those family. But when your husband's got big old titties, then mum's the word. We got to be quiet. Well, maybe husband no longer. Maybe husband no longer for them because it seems like a split is coming. But there is one place in this whole story that is kind of being overlooked. Of course, everything is in the middle of Donald Trump's mental collapse and threats of genocide against Iranians. It is the threat that DHS still very much poses. Kristi Noem was fired because she was incompetent, and much like Pam Bondi couldn't carry out the crimes and corruption in the way that Donald Trump saw fit. Like, that was the reason that she was fired. No, Pam Bondi's not sticking around anymore because Donald Trump didn't think that she could, successfully cover up the Epstein files. And the firing of Kristi Noem, just besides the fact that she was having an affair, that she was bad on TV, that she made Trump look stupid and ridiculous, all of those things, more so than he already does, it's because Kristi Noem was not going to be able to live up to what Donald Trump wanted next out of DHS. And what Donald Trump wants next out of DHS isn't just more attacks on Americans, but it's attacks on all of our rights, starting with voting. Rachel Maddow broke that down in a report that I want to start with before we close on what I think is coming next.
There's one federal agency that's just getting bigger and bigger under Donald Trump, and that, of course, is the sprawling, scandal-ridden Department of Homeland Security. Here's a heads up about that. There's been quite a bit of attention recently to the fact that the FBI and DOJ have been targeting elections administrators in multiple states, most infamously the FBI raid in Fulton County, Georgia's elections office in January, where they seized hundreds of thousands of ballots from the 2020 election. But here's something to keep an eye on, because we are now also seeing Homeland Security being used to target elections administration. And this is something worth keeping an eye on. A couple weeks after that Fulton County raid, the White House ordered HSI, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security, to start working on elections issues. Then The Atlantic was first to report that HSI was conducting an investigation into the 2020 elections in the state of Arizona. Now, just a few days ago, CBS has reported that Minnesota elections officials have received a grand jury subpoena for Minnesota voter records as part of an investigation being run in part by the Department of Homeland Security. CBS also reports that DOJ is close to finalizing a deal to hand over whatever voter data it manages to get from the states to the Department of Homeland Security. Who knows what they will do with it?
DHS has its sights set next, and Markwayne Mullin wouldn't answer when asked about interfering in elections. That is what they want to do next, interfere in elections. So while Kristi Noem is doing her ambassador to the Shield of Americas, whatever that is, and Mike Byron is figuring out what cup size he wants to be, Markwayne Mullin will be overseeing Donald Trump's attempts to subvert our elections through direct intimidation and fear. That is what ICE is going to be doing. You've heard this from Steve Bannon, who said that airports in the U.S. were just a test drive. They were figuring it out for what it's going to look like at polling locations. And given what we've seen with ICE at the airport, it makes sense that that is the next logical step. But that is a scary one. And if we do not give attention to this now, we will wake up on election day with ICE all across the country storming polling locations. And I can promise you they will be in predominantly Black and brown communities. That is where Donald Trump is going to target, in major metropolitan areas, in big blue cities, and anywhere that his thugs can harass people of color. And so our leadership needs to be pushing back against this now. It's why I wanted to bring attention to it amid Titgate, which is certainly fun to talk about, but maybe has less of an impact on our democracy. But Corey, Kristi, and I guess also Bryon, forgot about him. He's the husband, though. I wish you all the best in your divorce settlement. Have a blast. I guess you got a lot of money that you stole from us to divvy up. But we're going to continue to cover it all, no matter how ridiculous the news is. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video.
The kink known as bimbofication, which apparently is a fetish centered around, well, Barbie-like transformation. And reportedly, he wasn't exactly trying to hide it. And Kristi, well, apparently she is devastated that they were blindsided by this, and they asked for privacy and prayers at this time. But according to Laura Loomer, who is a good friend of Donnie and a Washington, D.C. insider, she said the statement that they were blindsided by this is just not true at all, that this was well known in D.C. and the reason why she lives with Corey Lewandowski. She went on to say, literally everyone in the admin has known this forever. I'm shocked it didn't come out sooner. And listen, in a normal world, I wouldn't care about this at all. Consenting adults can do whatever they want in private. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. But This is coming from the same people that have spent years demonizing trans people and pushing these so-called family values. In fact, just today, the Supreme Court struck down a conversion therapy ban, making it so states can't ban so-called conversion therapies, which are aimed at changing someone's sexual identity.
You what if
Okay, now one of the things that came out about Bryon is there were recordings between him talking to ex-workers and him. And this is one of the recordings that you're about to listen to. All right. So this is another thing that leaked out into the press.
if people saw us together?
I don't give a fuck.
Not even if you got recognized?
I don't care.
You
You know what I want?
What?
To be seen with you.
Yeah?
I
Mm,
don't give a fuck about anything else.
yeah.
It's time we be seen together.
You told me you loved me, didn't you?
I do love you.
Do
Yes.
you? So much better than your wife, aren't I?
You're so much better.
You can't live without me, can you?
And
Mm-hmm. Just so weak and desperate for me.
yes, God. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What a good boy.
Looks like the claims that the Daily Mail were making about Kristi Noem's husband was true. Noem has come out and said that she was devastated and blindsided by the allegations. Apparently, her husband, Bryon Noem, was living a secret life. Not only are there allegations of fetish behavior, there is visual evidence to back it up. These allegations come just weeks after Noem was fired as DHS secretary. President Trump was surprised by the reports. He stated he felt badly for the family. I just can't believe you would not know this about your husband. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have lived secret lives. Kristi Noem herself has been accused of having an alleged affair with her aide, Corey Lewandowski. Definitely a lot of controversy surrounding this family. Noem is requesting prayers and privacy at this time for her family. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Tuesday night. Let me know your thoughts respectfully, please, in the comments. God bless you.
Today in Trump world, Kristi Noem's husband has been outed as a cross-dresser who has a fetish for huge breasts, and he's even worn those breasts himself. He has a couple photos that we found over at the Daily Mail of him putting balloons under his shirt to emulate these large fake breasts, and he's even paid $25,000 to adult creators to entertain this fetish. Now, Kristi Noem put out a statement saying that she was shell-shocked by the news and she had no idea. But also, this comes in the backdrop of her reported affair with her advisor, Corey Lewandowski, which she has repeatedly denied. Now, it is a shocking report, and the photos are even crazier. I suggest you go check it out on our website. But what do you think this says about the Trump administration? What do you think this says about Kristi Noem and her repeated denial of these affairs? Bryon Noem, the guy in question, is the father of Kristi Noem's 3 children. So we'll have to stay tuned to see how this fallout impacts the Trump administration and Kristi Noem's career. Let me know what you think below.
The cherry on top is the fact that it was an immigrant woman who exposed Kristi Noem's husband for his behavior. Yeah, I got a weird lead. A source texted me February 13th, a veteran reporter posted. They said an immigrant sex worker, possibly in the country illegally, wanted to go public about Noem's husband using her services online. It was vengeance for DHS's immigration enforcement. So essentially, a veteran reporter was approached by this immigrant sex worker who said, hey, Kristi Noem's husband has been using my services. I have all of our chat logs. I have all of his photos. I would like to give it to you because I am mad about how ICE has handled these deportations. That is one hell of a way to fight back. The thing is, conservatives, it's not the cross-dressing that bothers us. It's the hypocrisy. If we lived in a reality in which you guys did not make your entire career trying to legislate what other people do with their bodies, this would not even be a story. When JD Vance dressed as a woman, no one would have cared. This would never have been a story. It is only a story because it's your hypocrisy that makes it one. My name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
So Kristi Noem's husband, Bryon, is found to be a person who likes to dress up in this manner, like a woman. And quite frankly, Bryon, I get why you'd want to hide it from your wife. I mean, these puppies, obviously, you were afraid that she would shoot them. And completely valid, quite frankly. But in all seriousness, it just goes to show that conservatives hate themselves so much that they would rather hide who they are. In this year of our Lord, 2026, they would rather hide who they are than simply just be open and honest and accept themselves like people on the left do. Nope, they'd rather hide it, hate themselves, and then legislate it for everybody else and try to make everyone else's life miserable because they're miserable in their own skin, instead of just being able to accept who they are. I just want to tell you all that we accept you for who you are. If you want to be gay or lesbian or trans or bisexual or asexual or pan, whatever.
Y'all, it's just go to show you. These people will spend their money on stupid shit, but call us bad with money. No, we ain't bad with money. We may not like the same thing you like, but I tell you one thing, I never met one brother within my community that would throw $25,000 away just to talk on the phone to an S worker. I never met one brother in my community that did mess like that. If they got $25,000, they ain't gonna blow it on no conversations with some ex-worker. I know that. So y'all can miss us all with, oh, we are not good with money, and that's what you do with yours. Okay, that says a lot about y'all. Look at Donald Trump. He gave Stormy Daniels what, $300,000 just to lay in bed and do the nasty? Honey, there's a lot of women in this world. I never met one that had a coochie worth $300,000, but Donald Trump gave that money to Stormy Daniels, y'all. Y'all will throw your money away on ridiculous stuff. You have no right to tell us we're bad with money, and your men are doing that with money. You can miss me all. If our men had $300,000, you can best believe they wouldn't give it to no woman like Stormy Daniels for some roll in the hay. Okay, because the average black man can hit that for free. They got swag. They can hit that for free. They ain't got to pay no $300,000 for that. So anyway, y'all, I just wanted y'all to hear all this mess. And, you know, Kristi Noem don't live with her husband, by the way. She lives with her boyfriend. She got a boyfriend. And this was somebody that was on her staff at Homeland Security. That is the man she lived with. She do not live under the same roof with her husband. Now, you want to hear that? That's some jacked up mess. That's some jacked up mess. You will live with your boyfriend and your husband is a cross-dresser. You can't get more messed up than that, y'all, for real. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. At 1:45, we got Bible study, and I had to reschedule the last live for today, so we'll do that one tomorrow. So I will see you at 1:45, family. Shalom.